Welcome to the Love That Guy podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Ronnie Gene Blevins.
And this is Brendan Reynolds.
He got third all for billing at the end of each picture. That don't really mean much, he would say with a grin. But he held my hand tight when he poured his name out. Only 4 or 5 names down below Errol Flynn.
We are the show that celebrates the journeyman actors, the actors we all know and love, and even though we might not always know their names, we inevitably see them in film and television and think to ourselves, love that guy. Brendo, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Ronnie, I'm doing good, man. That was another good one.
Yeah, man. We have David Zayas on the show today, and he spoke a lot about kindness and how kindness matters. And what really cool guy, man. I always been envious of these New York actors. When I was when I was coming up in LA, I was like, man, maybe I should just move to New York, and so people can see me as a New York actor. They've always been so cool, and he's quintessential.
There's like an automatic street cred that goes with that. Like, it just looks like a guy that's seen some shit,
Yeah, and also, by the way, it's almost like how LA actors or LA entertainment industry, directors, producers, casting directors see New York actors as almost the same way that Americans see actors in the UK. Oh, well, they're all better trained, well trained. You know what I mean? They're all better actors. That's what I think. And you look at someone like David, and that's kind of how it is, man. He put in his time, man, and he was a cop, and then he just switched careers, and the most beautiful thing he said, Brendan, I noticed, is he said, man, when I started taking that acting class, I didn't have any expectations, and
right.
I think there's an important thing, because people hear that and you're like, no expectations, But as soon as you have expectations, then you start talking about time frames of, because expectations are always going to coincide with time frames. And then you start saying, well, I should definitely have an agent at this point. I should definitely be in my first show at this point. And
It skews your decision making if you're trying to be too tactical and everything. Right?
Yeah.
You lose the man.
Yeah, and also since I believe that careers are, success in careers are better gauged in decades than years. Of course, I might just be coming from that perspective because I've been in this for 2.5 decades.
I think that's the best. That's the best take to have.
Yeah,
it's a long game, right? It's not slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, man.
I think I was thinking how the path that people take to finding their dreams. It's interesting. He's providing for his family. He becomes a police officer, but he always wanted to be an actor. But it was kind of put that in the back seat, right?
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't have had the success he had he not taken that path forward, right? So,
and not brought the depth of experience to the work, right? If he didn't have that, I meant to ask him about if he gets. I bet he gets so much deference because of his time in the police force. They're like, that's not how it's done. Like, okay. Okay, I'm sure. Yeah,
sure that got him a few big roles.
Yeah,
right? And having
for sure. I wonder. Yeah, he's played a lot of cops. He played a cop in Rounders too. So much I didn't get into, and I kind of cut his intro short because I was a little rushed getting into the studio this morning. But David Zayas is next. We hope you guys enjoy it, and listen, if you like it. Whether you watch it on YouTube or you're watching it or you listen to it on Apple or Spotify, it helps a lot if you can do a little like or comment even. It means a lot to us, and as always, we're grateful to you all for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this one. Today's guest embodies a rare combination of gravitas and formidable presence. Having served in the United States Air Force as well as the New York City Police Department for nearly 15 years, our next guest brings a unique depth of experience to his craft. A dedicated member of the Labyrinth Theater Company since 1992, our next guest has left an indelible mark on both stage and screen. From acclaimed TV series like The Bear, The Blacklist, and Blue Bloods to memorable film roles, our next guest continues to captivate audiences with his undeniable talent. We once escaped a weekend on a really bad movie in Lafayette to spend a really great weekend in New Orleans. Welcome to the show, one of my favorite actors, David Zayas. How you doing, David?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Good,
so great
man.
to be here.
Good, man. I'm great, man, and I'm really grateful to have you here, man. You kind of, you kind of embody the ethos of the show. You know, we talk about that, me and Brendan sometimes.
So fun.
You know,
Thank you.
And yeah, man, how you doing? How's it been?
I've been great.
Yeah,
I've been great. Just working as much as I can and enjoying my life as much as I can. I'm in New York City.
Yep.
And just doing my thing.
Yeah,
know?
man.
And taking the time now to actually appreciate it. Where before you're always on the hustle, you don't stop and appreciate it. I've done a lot of that.
Well, you got your kid is grown now, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. My son is he directs plays in New York now.
Wow.
So
wow, man.
Yeah. And then my daughter has two of my grandkids, and she's doing really well. And so everybody's doing good. And my wife is doing very well too. She's
good.
She's on that show, The Bear.
Yeah.
And she's we like going to restaurants because they give her free dishes.
Yeah, man. Congrats. Yeah, congrats on that, man. I know you did season 3. I want to back. I'm a little ADHD, so I'm probably going to be all over the place. But I want to go back, way back, to talk about your time as a cop, right? Now, is it one of these things when, you put a good amount of time and with the NYPD, right?
Yeah, after the Air Force, I did 4 years in the Air Force, and I got out. Somehow, some way, I had a kid I had to take care of, right?
Yeah.
So went right into there to the NYPD. Acting wasn't even in my vision at all at that time. So I joined the NYPD, and it had great benefits, and I needed it for my family, and I did 15 years, but halfway into that is when I discovered I wanted to give acting a shot.
Yeah.
So for like the last, I would say 8 years, I did both acting, and I go and work the shift in Hell's Kitchen. Yeah.
And but was it okay? So you said like the last half of your tenure as a cop. So the first half, you must have had these kind of like inclinations, like shit, I could do that.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is, especially when you're young and you have a family, you're only thinking of providing. You're only thinking of what's going to get me into the next paycheck so I can pay for my kids' school. So I was just focused on that. Yeah. I've always had acting in the back of my mind. Always. Since I saw Dog Day Afternoon when I was 12 years old.
Yep.
Yeah. I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know in what capacity, but I want to be involved in something that makes people feel the way I feel right now watching this film. Yeah. Like it's, a slice of life. And, so it was, I've always had it, but, then life takes over, and, I joined the Air Force when I was 19. I came out, and I needed a job, so I had to join the police department. And so I put all the acting aspects in the back burner. And then around 1990, after I had been in about 5 years, I took a walk to Times Square because I had just got transferred to that precinct. And I met a friend of mine who, I've worked with in the past, who was a theater cop. Yep. Right. And I said, yeah, I just got here. And he goes, you want to come in and see the show? I go, yeah. He goes, I'll walk you in. Walked me in, went on the first row, and I saw A Few Good Men. Oh, wow. And Broadway. And after that show, I went, bing. I said, I think I can do that. Who was in that show? Do you remember who was in that production? Tom Holtz. Okay. Stephen Lang. Oh, wow. And just a bunch of other actors that I met eventually throughout the years, and I had to tell them this story. You know,
great,
it's just
man.
a lot of really great actors that were in there, and I was like, wow, you know, that's what I want to do. So the next day, I joined an acting class.
Wow.
I joined this acting, Ernie Martin. Then I switched to midnight shifts as a cop, so that I could have my days to go to school
Audition
and to do that.
eventually.
Meanwhile, I'm still having, you know, my kids, because I had gotten divorced and I had joint custody, so they stayed with me. They went to acting classes with me. They went to rehearsals with me. They were like, you know,
Wow.
they grew up with this, you know.
Wow,
so.
man. Wow, those are the grind times, right? Like starting a new career, still got your old one, you know. It's not like you're taking
Right.
it's like you're taking away the other thing. You're just adding more.
Yeah. But ignorance is bliss, brother.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss. Like my thing was, I had no expectations. I said, I'm just going to do something. Acting is a passion.
Yep.
I love it. I'm going to do it until I can't do it anymore.
Mm.
And it's not something like I'm on a job 20 years, I get retirement, I get a pension, and I'm going to go to Florida and sit by the pool.
Yeah.
I continuously want to do this as long as I can physically and mentally deal with it. You know, I want to.
Yeah, man. I agree, man. And it's like, to me, it's such a beautiful challenge. I mean, the thing is, like, if you're like a concert pianist, right? And you could sit down and play some classical piece, you know, seamlessly. You could kind of do that in any state, you know what I mean? But like every single time we get a new set of sides or a new role, it's a new opportunity to either be brilliant or fall flat on your ass, or everything that's on the spectrum in between those. You know, you can't rest on your laurels. I mean, you know what I mean? You got to dig in, and it's always, you know, some are easier than others, but it's always like this riddle you got to solve. And when you solve it, I find that it really kind of every single time when I'm getting into something, and I'm like, why am I not cracking this? And then I got this other voice, and no, trust the process. You're not supposed to be cracking this right now, you know?
And the three things that I feel like I've realized in my old age,
yeah,
is number one, this never gets easier, which is one of the reasons why I want to continue to do it.
Yeah.
Never gets easier. Any audition, anything can at any time can change your life.
Yep.
That's the possibility. You know, if you're a construction worker, you know what you're going to be doing for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nothing but in what we do, our next job or 3 jobs down the line, it could hit and it could change your life.
Yeah,
and that possibility is always there. But that's superficial. What I love about it is that every time I do a role, and it's harder than the last time I did it, I grow more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I understand it. And that helps me deal with the ups and downs of this business, because no matter what success you have, there's always going to be ups and downs. And it's how you handle those ups and downs is what's going to maintain your longevity in this business.
100%.
You know, so it's one of those things, but I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. And
yeah, man. And also I think that, like, you know, as much as we never want to exploit our children, like, you know, the benefit we have of being fathers, you know, and the kind of the accessibility to this emotionality, you know, like I you know, my son is 8, you know, I haven't been a father as long as you have, but I can tell you that I can't contextualize anything in this world without seeing it through some sort of relationship with my son. If I see even if it's, I see like a server or who's in his young 20s, or someone who's on the street who looks like, you know, really young, you know, there's the idea that everyone is someone's kid. And like I contextualize everything with like, well, am I on the right track with my boy? Is he going to be okay? And how that relates to the art is, I don't know. Maybe it just keeps me in a constant state of worry and panic, which is good for art.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for life, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, like my son is involved in this business now,
Mm.
and I hang out with him and his friends, right?
Yeah.
His friends are the same age, and I think, oh, these are new friends, but no, they've been watching me since they were like kids, and different, so they have a different perception of who I am, more than what I think, who I think I am, so I just want to like kind of join the crowd. I want to be a part of that energy.
Yeah.
And they remind me, no, some of us are doing this because we have seen you over the years, and we're friends with your son, but we love you to hang out. But it's, I don't realize what, the example that I'm setting, particularly my son, because the best example you can set for your kid is to be passionate and truthful in the integrity of what you do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I've done that in acting. I've maintained my passion, my integrity. I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes, but they've gone through all the mistakes I made, and they've gone through all the successes I made. And it's just, it's an amazing thing. So as long as you're passionate and truthful and have integrity about what you're doing, that's the best example for the young people that are watching.
Yeah. And teaching and teaching the young kids, like this culture of artistry, we try to teach our boy, art, life is art, in the sense that, like, if you're doing something, it's a lot like, who was it? Miracle of Mindfulness, right? I forget the author, I forget the author, but he talks about washing the dishes. He talks about everything you do, let it be an art form, and really teaching these kids, because I grew up in Texas, man. When I've talked about this before, but when I saw my heroes, the moment you had with Dog Day Afternoon, I had with Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing, right?
Right.
And I thought these people were all anointed. Like, I couldn't even dream it, because it wasn't in the sphere of possibility, So we try to teach our kid. And not only is it a life in arts, not only is it important, it's necessary, whatever that looks like,
Art matters, and art can change the world.
Yeah. I agree.
Anybody who tells me otherwise, I'm like, I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Art matters. Art is just as important as anything else.
Yeah. So was it hard for your boy to pick a discipline or understand what to do? Like, how did he wrap his head around, oh no, this is what I think I love inside film?
My son got started, he was in college, and he was just finishing college, and he came over to Los Angeles, where I was living at the time, working on the Showtime show Dexter. And I said, why don't you come with me to the set? Went to the set, and everybody liked him, because my son is just the most likable person you could ever meet.
I bet.
Everybody liked him, and then they came up to me. They go, hey, does he want does he want to make get a little job and be in your stand-in? He seems like a very athletic kid. He could be a stunt double if we have any stunts. And I asked him, and he said, yeah. And he did that for the next 4 years. But what he did that what he did that I didn't realize he was going to do is that he got involved. He learned everything about the camera. He made friends with all the camera guys, with the DP, and they, and he learned everything about that, and that showed interest. He became a photographer, and he did that for many years. He was a professional photographer, and then when we finished Dexter, I came back to New York, and then he started getting involved in theater, because went back to the theater. And he realized that what he wanted to do was kind of be a theater director. So he's been doing that for the last few years.
Wow, man.
Very successfully. He's a really good director, and he's more importantly, he has the respect of everybody that he works with, and
Yeah.
it's really a great to watch.
You must be so proud, man.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So you're in 1990, you drop into an acting class, right?
Yes.
And then how do you come across the Labyrinth Theater?
I worked midnights in that area in Hell's Kitchen, right? And in one August July, August in 1992, I was finishing up a shift. I got out at 8 a.m, finishing up a shift, and I noticed there was a long line in this theater on 53rd and 10th. They used to be there. It's not there anymore. It's called Intar 2. And I saw a long line of people. I guess they were auditioning and had their sides and everything. And I stopped and in my patrol car, and I was like, what's going on here? And it was, there was two actors. They were young. They were like 18, 19 at the time. Guillermo Diaz and Vanessa Aspiaga.
Wow.
And Guillermo Diaz has been in Scandal. He's been in so many, you know. And he says, "Oh, we're auditioning for a Latino actors base."
Wow.
I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm Latino, and I'm just started acting. I think I signed out of my prison. I went online, and I auditioned for Labyrinth. Well, it was changed to Labyrinth after a couple of years, but it was Lab. And out of all those people, they picked 13 of us. I was one of them. And I started every week just jamming with them and learning so much from everybody who had much more experiences. Guys like, Paul Calderon and Sam Rockwell, Yul Vasquez.
Wow.
My wife I met there, Liza Colon, Lauren Velez, Lauren Velez. So I had to, Judy Reyes, I had to actually John Ortiz.
Wow.
When I was running it. And then unknown to me, my best friend back when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old, Gary Perez, was part of that as well. And then we started just jamming and just getting to bond every week. And then 6 months later, we did a show, and we've been doing shows ever since, 32 years.
Wow, man. Wow.
Yeah.
So when you auditioned, was that for to become like a company member or a specific play?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's just when I wanted to be part of it. I didn't know if it was for a specific play. It turned out to be for the life of the theater company.
Wow, man. Wow.
And it's always as much as you put into it. Yeah. There's some people that in and they just kind of just drifted away, but I've stuck with it. And the core of us have stuck with it. And it was beautiful is through the 32 years, I've seen individual just be so successful in different aspects, and then a couple of years later, Philip Seymour Hoffman joined us, and he actually became the artistic director along with John Ortiz. And the plays that Stephen Ali Girgis was an actor in it. And one of those weeks we had everybody bring in 4 pages of a scene, write a scene. We all brought in 3-4 pages of a scene, and they all pretty much sucked, except for Stephen Ali.
Yeah.
And we kind of said, hey, guess what? You're going to write a play for us. He goes, no. So you go, yeah. Everybody that John convinced him to write a play, and then he's been writing and won the Pulitzer. He's been Tony nominated.
Yeah, man.
So Philip directed his first few plays, and they kind of hit the mark, and it put us on the map.
Yeah, man. And it also should be worth noting that this is pre Philip Seymour Hoffman, pre super fame, right? Like midnight. Yeah, man. But not pre talent, man, right? I bet you.
Talent. My man was not. He had that love and that respect and that integrity I was talking about with what we do, Because if we don't have that, then it'll just fade away.
You're right. Yeah. I feel
doesn't come without a cost.
Of course.
It doesn't come without a cost to your soul. Doesn't come without a cost to some of the sacrifices you make. And, sometimes people can't deal with the cost of it,
Yeah. speaking of cost, congratulations on the cost of living.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah.
That was a really good show.
And you were nominated for a Tony Award in 2023 for this, yes? What was that like, man?
Okay. You know, it's first of all, it's great to be recognized for what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like to prepare yourself and go to this event. I wouldn't trade it in for the world, but when you're sitting there and you see the ceremony, you realize this is a beautiful thing, but it ain't the end all of what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was first of all, I was surprised, but I was really, really, really grateful that they recognized me in that manner for really, really great play, you know, and great people that I work with, you know, Katie Sullivan and Martina Mayock, who wrote the play, Joe Bonney, who directed it.
Yeah.
It's just so many beautiful experiences that I went through that. And I didn't know that was going to happen. I knew it was a great play.
Yeah.
I didn't know my experience, how much I would grow from it.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, that's everything, right? It's what you speak about, the growth, right? The harder it is, the bigger the growth, you know?
Yeah.
When I first moved to Los Angeles, damn near 25 years ago, I did what one does when they love acting, but they're not getting the work. You know, I would produce plays, you know, so I would produce like David Ray play and like some Bogosian, you know, and then, I started working in film and television, but it was always something that I had wanted to come back to. Well, a few years back, I told my agents, I said, hey, I want to do some theater, you know? And my agent just straight up talked me out of it. She's like, no, it's a whole thing. You know, I'm like, okay, I guess I won't. I guess I'm not utilizing you to do theater.
I think basically what she was saying is that, yeah, we're not going to make any money.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right.
Which, you know, I'm lucky where I have reps that agents manage. I'm a manager I've been with for 24 years. And they always are very honest. I said, okay, it could be an amazing experience. You know, you're not going to make that much money, but it's an amazing experience that might help you grow more. And so they're pretty good in just keeping that, just letting me decide what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, not all the time. I've gone through a lot of agents, but this one, who I'm with now, really, they're very supportive as to what I want to do.
Yeah.
And what I feel is right for, you know, where I'm at in my life right now.
Yeah. You know, also understanding that, you know, that value transcends beyond, you know, what it does for you economically, you know? You know,
it's really, everybody say, oh, you do this for the money. And that's maybe the sixth thing.
Yeah.
You do for.
Yeah.
There's 5 other things that is so much more important than that. Not saying that that's not important. That's always nice.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, the experience you're going through lasts in your soul and in your heart and in your mind a lot longer than the bucks you make. You know?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing more specifically. You really see it when you don't have that perspective. Like, there's been a couple times when I had thought I had condition-based happiness on, no, trust me, I can leverage all today's happiness on when I finally get that big paycheck. And then when I was in a position making the paycheck and I realized that I had compromised all the fundamentals of, human needs and happiness, turns out I was more miserable than I had ever been because I thought that was, you know, number one instead of fifth or sixth, you know, the money. You know, not that I've ever made a shit ton of money, but when I did have a come up, you know, so but that's another, it's another education, another way to grow. You're like, oh, I see. It is
Absolutely.
It is important, and as cliche as it is, it doesn't buy happiness, but it does give you a few more outlets to it.
There's a couple of I won't get into it specifically, but there's 3-4 jobs that would have been very lucrative for me, and it would have actually maybe make my career grow. But there was something in those parts that I just didn't feel right about.
Wow.
So I said,
wow,
something in those parts that I kind of felt, I don't want my grandson, who's 15 now, to watch, Showtime at 3 a.m. and see me playing this part.
Yeah.
And I could see that even when I was young, broke. I decided I wouldn't do certain things. I got dropped by an agent because of it. I got, but I don't regret it. It's the thing that, I always try to keep the integrity of what I do prevalent.
Yeah.
And, there are compromises. You do make compromises. Everybody makes compromises. And then afterwards, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it's okay. It's part of the growth. It's part of the experience, But for the most part, when I read a script, I read it, and if something pops out on me, it's either two things. Either it's a risk that I want to take, see what happens.
Yep.
Or it is a fact on the page that, I don't want to represent this. I don't want to do this.
Yep.
That doesn't mean it's not right for everybody else, but
sure.
Just me specifically, I have to go with my gut reaction as to what I feel about this part.
Yeah, and there's an empowerment to that. There's power in saying no, because there just is, and particularly when it stems from a value. It's the great Hollywood shuffle tale with Robert Townsend. Remember that when he's playing the pimp and he's doing the thing and he stops in the middle and says, "No, man, I'm not going to do this." And they're like, "Come on, man, we need the job. We need the jobs."
No, I've been there. I know what that feeling is, that decision is like, and it's but looking back at it, I don't have any regrets when it comes to that.
Yeah. So good for you, man. So you're bumping around, you're in the theater, you're loving what you're doing, you're learning what you're doing, you're managing your expectations. We're in the 90s. And then what was the first I know we're building up to Dexter, and maybe it was Dexter, but what was the first thing that you got that you really felt like, oh shit, I could maybe have a career
right
at this?
Well, it wasn't Dexter. It was I have been doing a lot of plays, mostly with Labyrinth Theater Company. All through the 90s. We just did a lot of plays. It did 3-4 plays a year, and somehow I found myself very lucky getting involved in most of those productions. And then I got an audition for a pilot, just a one scene audition as a super of a building. And with Tom Fontana and Barry Levinson was producing it. It was called The Beat. It was this film network, the UPN network.
Yep.
Back in the day. And so I said, I got this. I had like a 1-page scene, and I prepared and I got it. And then I went in, and unbeknownst to me, the casting director came the night before to see me in a play. Well, not to see me, but to see this play that Philip Seymour Hoffman directed. Called In Arabia We'd All Be Kings.
Okay.
And she came to see the play, and it's an excellent play. It's a beautiful play. Stephen Adigirgis wrote it. And then when I went into audition, she saw me and she goes, "Let me see your sides," and show me the sides. She goes, "Forget about this." And she gave me new sides. She goes, "Go outside 20 minutes, read through this, and come back and read for this."
Wow.
So I went out, I got the script, and I realized, this is a main part. This is a part. And I'm like, so I read it. I went in, and I auditioned for it. You know, they called me back like 4 or 5 times. The final time it was a chemistry read with Mark Ruffalo, who was in the show. And I got it.
Wow.
And I had to maneuver my schedule in the police department to do this main role in this show called The Beat.
Yep.
That was shooting in New York, and I played a cop. So it wasn't, it was about cops back in the day. And anyways, I went through that. I worked out the schedule. It's amazing what you can do when you're like, when you gotta like walk the plank, right? It's like, And so I managed it. I did it. Unfortunately, The Beat got canceled. But Tom Fontana was also doing at the time Oz on HBO.
Yep.
So he came to me and he said, I wrote a part for you on Oz. I go, sure. And I went into Oz and I did that for like 3 years.
Yeah.
That kind of helped, it helped the motor to get different parts and, try to use that momentum to get my career started. And and it did.
Yeah. And by the way, just like Oz, talk about just the who's who of like the best New York actors, right?
It was an acting class in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was my first day and I saw these guys. I'm like, wow, these guys are good. I need to catch up. I need to focus. And I learned so much. It was like a master acting class, going to work every day, sometimes not even having a scene because you're in prison. Everybody's there, right?
Yeah.
So it's just watching other scenes. And I always went and watched the scenes and realized, how crafty these amazing actors were. And, what can I steal from them?
Yeah.
What can I take from? And what I found out is work ethic and focus go hand in hand, and so I have a really high work ethic. Whatever I do, I'm never going to be anything other than the most prepared actor on set.
Wow, man.
There's a lot of better actors, but I'm going to be as prepared as I possibly can. And I learned that from watching all those actors on Oz, because that was a quick shooting. Yeah, 1 or 2 takes and that's it.
Yeah. That's beautifully stated. And I kind of always took the same perspective, except mine was I never really had any innate talent, so I'm going to be the most prepared person to make up for that.
I always felt the same way. I said I need to make up that experience. Time, being prepared, what the best actors that are working so much today, I realized they were the kindest actors. They were kind, they were generous to the other actors, and they were, it was really a great education those 3 years working on ours.
Yeah, man, that's great. That's a beautiful thing. And you got the J.K. Simmons was there too, which is really cool. Right?
Dean Winters, Chris Maloney.
Yep.
Vito Moreno.
Yeah.
Luna Velez, who I did Dexter with. It was just a great experience.
Yeah, man. Okay, so that wraps up just about the turn of the century, 2000, right?
I think it wrapped up with about 2002.
Okay.
It was right after 9/11. We had, that was our last year of ours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It started with Sopranos, I think, right?
It started in the late night. It started in 97, but I didn't get on it till I think it was 99 or something like that.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking.
So were you in New York for 9/11?
I was, I had just gotten back from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
I took a play there called Jesus Hopped the A Train.
Wow.
And we were the whole month of August. And then we came back like right after Labor Day.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 happened, and that was intense.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. Talk about something that just puts everything in perspective. I mean, imagine specifically for a New Yorker, right? Yeah, man. What a crazy time. The world just stopped.
Right after 9/11, we were shooting ours, and we were working. We had set in Bayonne, New Jersey. So we had to, and every time we would go to set, we could see the smoke from the towers, and it really put things in perspective in going to work and realizing, how everything can just change in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. And what really what really matters? I mean, damn. Like, is this even a thing that we're going to be able to do anymore? Will it matter? Because you don't know. You just think we're being attacked. Yeah. That's what, you know what I mean? You don't think you didn't. I remember I was thinking, are we being like, is this like a movie? Like we're being attacked? You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, we were effectively attacked, but
Yeah. And the thing about it now, what's happening with our whole political climate and with everything that happened with the pandemic and the strikes and everything, it hit a crossroads as to what's going to happen in our business. It's going to be different. But the one thing I also know is that we will survive it.
Yep.
We will survive it. We will adjust, and we will figure out what the next steps are. We have to. That's the only option we have.
Yeah, I agree with you, David. In fact, I think I could even take that a step further. Do you remember? Maybe you could corroborate this, but I remember like when I first started working just a little bit. I'm not even talking about doing a guest star here and there, but this is probably 2007. There's network TV. You know what I mean? There's FX, and then there's like Showtime and HBO. You know what I mean? Right. Whenever you would do something, it would make a bigger splash because there wasn't so many, there was a lot of eyes on not a lot of content, right? So I remember, I might go down, I was living in Santa Monica time, I might go somewhere and someone would be like, hey, I saw you in that thing, or I saw you in Southland or something, and then after, 2008, and then with the advent of streaming, I think what happened was we got inundated with too much, right? And I can't even tell you the amount of times that I sit down with all the networks and all the streaming and think to myself, well, there's nothing on. So I think what happened was the idea was, well, this is great for the actor, this is great for the artist, but I never really bought into that. I think it devalued artistry on a lot of levels, and it made it to where you could be on this amazing show. Maybe it airs on, whatever, the MGM network or so, you know what I mean? Or Hulu even. And it's like, it's a great show, but because there's so many great shows, it gets lost and the work gets a little devalued. I've done bigger things since, and it just doesn't seem like it matters. Why does it matter? So I feel like, and maybe I'm just being optimistic here, that this contraction we're experiencing will ultimately reposition the artist to a place of better value, because cream will always rise, Yeah.
I think so. I mean, like it's yes, you're right. There is a lot. Well, not today.
Not today. Yeah.
Well, before the strike, even after the pandemic, but before the pandemic, up to 2019.
Yeah.
There was a lot. But greatness always shows itself.
Yep.
You still have these amazing shows that stood out from all these other shows. You got a show like even network shows like This Is Us.
Yep.
Very popular, very good, very beautiful writing, beautiful performances. So certain, even in network TV, there's always shows that pop. And because back in the 70s and 80s, we only had like 6-7 channels to choose from. Yeah. Now we got 7,000 channels to choose, right? But you're right. When something great comes up, it always stands out.
Yeah.
And people always watch it. Shows like The Shield, like Southland, like Breaking Bad, Dexter, all these shows. There was a lot of shows going on, but those shows stood up because of the quality of the shows, and so that's always going to be there. As for having so many different shows, it's good work wise for actors, but you have an opportunity to reach out and grab an audience with what you do, and any chance you get to do that, to me, is a positive thing.
100%.
So I'm optimistic about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's nothing like the magical feeling we get when we're in the process, doing the work, caring, you know what I mean? And like the great unknown of what it will be. It almost like like you talk about sitting in that sitting at the Tony Awards. You know what I mean? It's like, it's great, but it's not it. Right? It's not,
it's great, and I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
Right.
But it's not the pinnacle of I do this.
Yeah.
And as long as you can identify that, put it in perspective, and enjoy the festivities in front of you.
Yeah.
I think is a good way to handle it, because I've seen people get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
People get overwhelmed by success, by attention, by. I'm seeing it now with my wife, with Liza in the Bear.
Yeah.
But we've had enough experience to be able to just take it in, put it in perspective, be thankful, be grateful, and then move on to do other great stuff. Try to do that. That's the only way. It's really, you have to just be grounded with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not because what's successful to you tomorrow will be a failure next year. It's like, it's all ups and downs, and all you can do, the only control you have over that is just getting on set or getting on stage.
Yep.
And doing your best work.
Yeah, man.
That's one thing to do.
I agree. Beautifully put. Okay. So go back. So you get off of Oz, you're in a bit of a rhythm, people are starting to say, okay, this David Zayas guy has got something. And then can you just tell me a little bit, because I'm sure you've only talked about it 1,000 times, about process of getting Dexter?
Yeah. Well, I had already retired from the police department.
Yep.
Retired during Oz. I said, I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to leave this and do this, and so I already left. So after Oz, I was lucky enough to get a few really good movies.
Yep.
16 Blocks, Michael Clayton, The Interpreter.
Yep.
The really, really great movies with great directors and great actors, and that I learned a lot from. And then I was, and this is good because this is an example of how your representation can really help you and be, passionate with you. I was shooting, I believe it was 16 Blocks. We went to Toronto, and it was a Thursday, and I had Friday and Monday off, and I had tickets for 2 games, Yankees versus the Blue Jays in Toronto. And I was very excited about it. And I get a call on Thursday, my manager saying, hey, there's this part in this show. Would you mind, are you working tomorrow, Monday? I go, no. He goes, why don't you fly in? I think it'd be worth for you to audition for this. And I was like, I got box seats to this. And I'm doing a movie. I'm supposed to be doing another movie after this. I don't want to miss these games and fly in for an audition. And so we left it. 5 minutes later, he calls me again. I still said, I don't want to. 5 minutes later, he calls me again. He calls me about 5 times.
Yeah.
Finally said, fine. I'll go. Fine, I'll go when I audition. So I went and I flew to New York. It's only a 45-hour flight from Toronto.
Yeah.
So I went to New York and I went to the audition, and I felt it was the worst audition I've ever had.
Wow.
It was for Dexter.
Wow.
It was a terrible audition, so much that I saw the director just going. I saw that during my scene. Oh, he was like, So I finished the audition. I came out. I called my manager. I said, I don't think it went too well. I'm gonna head back to Toronto. He goes, yeah, okay, all right. Anyway, there was the executive producer of Dexter. Her name is Sarah Colleton. Wonderful lady, very smart woman. She saw me and she said, that's Angel Batista.
Wow.
She kind of just she made that decision, and I wound up going to LA to test. That time I was very prepared.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough to get the part. And we shot the pilot. And during the pilot, we all would say, America's not going to accept a serial killer as a hero. And it's probably not going to happen. But it did. And it lasted great, wonderful years. I worked with some good people.
Yeah.
Great directors, great writers, a great crew. And I had a wonderful time. And we did it from 2005 to 2013. It was really, when I moved to LA, I was only there 6 months, but out of the year, but I had a place in LA. It was a great time. And and in between, I did a few good movies, and I would come back and do a play. I had it was a good life.
Yeah,
it was
man.
a good life.
Yeah. Do you think, looking back at that audition where you thought that you had blown it, do you think that maybe you were being a little hard on yourself, or you think that producer really did see something in spite of not great reading?
No, I have blown it.
Okay.
I think what you never know is that it's not, and what I learned from that experience was, it's not what you do in the room, it's who you bring into the room.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Because it was an idea of, because afterwards I read the book, and when it came up to my part, I'm like, this is me.
Yeah.
This is me in the book.
Yeah.
Before the show was even thought of, but she just had the insight to see a quality that I had naturally, I think, that would be right for this part.
Yeah. Man. Yeah.
And I got it. That's part of the luck part of this.
Yeah.
It's part of the luck when you go in and you do your thing, or you are who you are. And it's because luck does play a part.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and also, if you're you can't shake it. If you're the character, that means that your essence is the character. That's a hard thing to shake it. That's what you really speak. That's the aspect of yourself that's really speaking to the heart of the character. You know what I mean? It just takes someone wise enough to be like, no. He's the guy,
It's almost, I felt like when I got the part, I'm like, okay, now I have to earn it.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel I earned it in the audition, but now I have to earn it with the job. Yeah. And I did. I worked in it, and I did the best I could with it, but it was a wonderful 8 years, and it really helped shape my life and my career, and how I look at things, and my work ethic, and how it was a very it's a beautiful time. And to me, it's like the first decade of the 2000s was like Mecca. It was like so many things that you were able to do, so many great shows. I had so many friends that I'd worked with in the past that were doing really good things, and it was a good time, and but those come up and down, it's just the way it is. Even the most successful, I was like I was good friends with Philip, and just as successful as he was, there were always dips, and I could see the struggle, like dealing with that. Doesn't matter how successful you are, you still gotta deal with day in and day life crisis.
Man.
It's one of those things,
Yeah, Brendan, me and David went to New Orleans one weekend in this movie we were doing, and this was probably at the end of that 2009. You know what I mean? So
I'm there.
not to embarrass you, David, but you walk down the street, Bourbon Street with David, man. It's like, it's like, let's go find shelter, man. Like it was fun, man. Everyone's like, Angel.
That was a good time. That was, that experience. They were very nice. The movie was Samuel Bleek, right? It was Samuel Bleek. And they were very nice to me. They go, oh, this guy, let's put him up. Everyone was in a Motel 6.
Yeah.
Let's put David in this beautiful, like, old, like, bed and breakfast. Yeah. Like, just, it looked like a mansion.
Yeah.
And I went there that night, and I was the only one in there. Yeah. And at night, I started hearing, things.
Oh, shit.
I called up. I forgot who it was. I think it was Robert, who was one of the line producers. I called him. Is there an extra room in the Motel 6? He goes, yeah. I'm going.
Yeah, man.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I don't want any of this bad, juju coming at me in this crazy place,
Yeah.
And so I stayed at the Motel 6 with the rest of you guys, and I had a great time. It was a great time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, that's fun. Russo, we had James Russo. We need to get James Russo. So much fun, dude. James Russo. Yeah. James Russo always tells this story about how he would there's a story going around Hollywood how one time his agent lied to him, and he takes a gun. He'll tell this story too. He takes a gun, an empty gun, and takes it to his agent. Can you imagine doing something like this today? Takes his gun and clicks the gun, and he goes, next time you lie to me, there'll be a chamber in the round, some variation of that. And then I ask him about that, and finally I said, man, but did you really do that? He goes, fuck no. I never did that. I just told the story to create some myth, I was like,
James Russo was very entertaining, and he was I stayed friends with him for a long time, and he's a good guy.
He's a great guy. And, great guy.
I went to his house a couple of times. He lives, I think it's Encino or something.
Yeah, he's a fun hang. He's still going, man. He's pops in, does great work, man. So you do so many years of Dexter. I mean, I got to imagine, no matter how great the experience is, towards the end of that tenure, you're like, okay, let's see what's next. I mean.
Actually, no, I wanted it to keep going.
Yeah.
I wanted it to keep going. There's so many things they could have done, but they ended it, brought it back in 2021.
Yes.
The new blood.
Yeah, and you did a few of those, right?
Did not a small, I was in there for a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
But no, it was something that it was satisfaction we had a great 8 years.
Yeah.
But if it was up to me, we would keep going.
Smart. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But then after that, I went and I started. They getting some good stuff. Like I remember I got the movie Annie.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx and Bobby Cannavale and Rose Byrne and Cameron Diaz, and so I did that, and then I started. Which by the way I love. Playing recurring parts in these long-running shows, like Bloodline that we shot at the Key.
So good.
Or I played the governor of New York in Blue. I played a drug cartel lord on FBI. I played Sal Maroney, a gangster. And I was doing that like one different so it was different characters, and it was a great way to just expand your experience and playing different characters and try to do something different in each one. And it was wonderful. And then I got back, and then after the pandemic, I did a lot of that. And then after the pandemic, I'm like, things kind of like, kind of shut down for a lot of people.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, what I know, I'll go back and do some theater.
Yep.
And that's what I did. And I was very lucky to get a couple. I just did a John Patrick Shanley original play called Brooklyn Laundry.
Wow, man.
Off Broadway, which was a wonderful experience too. So, then I just went back to play the governor of New York. So it's not working as consistently as I did back in, for the past 20 years, but working enough to keep me, the parts that I get are much more. You can sink it.
Yeah, man, and it's just like you. Well, like we talk about, it's the constant Ferris wheel, man, or the constant, peaks and valleys, man. And if your valleys can exist in a place where you're still working enough to satisfy your creative appetite, then that's not a bad place to be, right?
Cynicism is always a killer,
man. Totally, bro. Totally.
And you have to fight that off. Everyone gets it, man.
Yeah.
No one's immune to it. But to be cynical is a easy trap for Finn.
Yep.
And you have to fight off that cynicism and find the light in every corner you can get.
Yeah.
And that's a struggle that's real.
Yep. Yeah.
That and comparison. Like, don't compare yourself to anybody.
Oh man, that's a big one. That's a big one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can't compare yourself. I am so happy when my friends get a job.
Yep.
I'm ecstatic.
Yeah. You have to be.
Because it's all you just, there's no point in cynicism. What's that going to do? It's going to make you it's going to make you a terrible person if you that overtake your whole sense of being. It's
a cancer, bro. I believe, and and if you can have the healthy perspective, if I don't, I this was up for this thing, then I flew out to meet with the director, and it was a whole thing, and then you find out J.K. Simmons or someone gets it. It's like, what? Why was I even reading it for it if there was an offer out, man? But But you got to, because every now and again, they don't take the offer.
Never know. It might pop.
Yeah.
Or you can go in.
Still it.
And say, all right, no one else can play this part but this guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's that kind of, you just, I look at everything individually, that this is just an opportunity. And I make the best of it. And if it doesn't go my way, which, by the way, 98% of the time it doesn't, you just gotta move on.
Yeah, and recently I've been okay, I've been making exclusively about me. Oh, okay, be better. I know this is lame. I got this tattoo. Try harder. That's meant for me. You know what I mean? Just cool. Just be better. What a great thing to do. Just be okay. Well, then fucking work harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And
sometimes it has nothing to do with what you did.
Sure. But that's all we can control, right?
All we can control is how we go in there and present ourselves as artists and as human beings.
Yep.
And hopefully it'll grab somebody and you get the job. And if not, you move on to the next thing.
100%. I only got a couple more minutes with you, but I want to. Speaking of reoccurrings, I've been doing a little reoccurring on this Tulsa King, and I just got a call saying they want me to come back and do this next episode. So I'm going to see Sly. And I remember an anecdote you told me about one of your parents had passed and they moved around some dates. Can you tell me that story?
Yeah, what happened was I was actually at the airport going to New Orleans to finish shooting, because we have been in Brazil for 2 months shooting Expendables, and we shot the last portion of it in New Orleans. And I was in the airport and I get a call. My parents, my sister, my niece, my mother, my father had gotten in a major accident in the Florida Turnpike, where the car rolled 5-6 times. And luckily my mother, my sister, my niece, minor injuries. But my father was kind of in bad shape, and they didn't think he was going to last the night. And so called me, and then I called the Expendables and Sly, and he said, take that ticket, go to Orlando and be with your dad, and we'll take care of it. We'll bring you in later afterward.
Wow.
And I thought that was
class.
I'll only remember Sly about that, fondly.
Yeah.
And tell him you talk to me about it, because
I will, man.
it meant a lot to me.
I will.
He was, whatever whatever his career was, whatever that for that moment, he showed kindness and compassion.
Yep.
And it was the human being before the project,
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And it's another thing I learned when it came to like how to react, how to deal with people, how to talk to people. The kindness that really is being kind is one of the strongest things you can do, And I apprecited that with Sly. So that was a good.
That's a beautiful stuff. I'm gonna remind him, and I'm also gonna say, hey, we gotta get David on this show, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go in a heartbeat. I'll go there in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Kindness.
Dominic.
Yeah. I got to get him on the show, man. He's great. But anyway, kindness, man. You've always been kind, and I want to just wrap it up by saying that when we went away for this weekend, just like as kind of a fun little escape from this movie that, there's a lot going on. I never paid for, my hotel room was picked up by David at Harrah's, and he never said a word. And I'm like, anyway, so that just shows that, it's these things when people, I was a young actor coming up, and this actor I looked up to, showed me this kindness and a little mentorship. And, I as much as I can, to whoever really wants to hear it, I try to pay that forward to, someone else who's a little, who's also coming in.
We had a wonderful experience doing that movie.
Yeah.
However it came out, it was a wonderful experience doing it. I made a lot of good new friends, and it's great.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for being here. I love you, man. And I love the fact that I don't see you for years, and we just kind of drop back in, and it really means a lot, you doing the show, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Much love to you.
Yeah.
And let's work together soon.
All right, brother. Thanks, man. See you soon.
Good.
Take care.
All right, bye.